In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers set out to cross the frozen Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They never came back. Weeks later, rescuers found their tent cut open from the inside, and the group scattered across the snow, some in nothing but their underwear, in temperatures far below freezing. Investigators found broken ribs, a crushed skull, and one hiker missing her tongue, yet no external wounds to explain it. Radiation was later found on some of their clothing. Soviet authorities closed the case, blaming a, quote, compelling natural force, and sealed the files for decades. Avalanche, military testing, infrasound-induced panic, even something stranger, every theory has holes. Nearly 70 years later, no explanation accounts for everything investigators found in the snow that night. On July 2, 1937, Amelia Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan vanished over the Pacific Ocean, attempting to become the first woman to fly around the world. Their final radio transmissions reported they were running low on fuel and could not locate their tiny refueling island. Then, silence. The largest air and sea search in U.S. history at the time found nothing. No wreckage, no confirmed remains, no answers. Over the decades, searchers have chased radio distress signals, a castaway skeleton on a remote atoll, and sonar anomalies on the ocean floor, none conclusively tied to her plane. Nearly 90 years later, expeditions are still funded, still searching, still coming home without an answer. Amelia Earhart became one of the most famous people on Earth by disappearing without a trace. Beginning in the late 1960s, a killer calling himself the Zodiac terrorized Northern California, attacking couples and taunting police with cipher letters mailed to newspapers. He claimed responsibility for at least 5 murders, possibly far more, and dared investigators to crack his codes. In 1969, he sent a 340-character cipher that stumped cryptographers and the FBI for 51 years. It was finally solved in 2020, but it revealed no name, only more taunting. One final cipher, sent that same year, remains unbroken to this day. Despite decades of suspects, partial fingerprints, and DNA evidence, the Zodiac was never definitively identified. He simply stopped writing in the mid-1970s and vanished from history. Whoever he was, he got exactly what he wanted, a mystery no one has ever fully solved. On November 24, 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper boarded a flight from Portland to Seattle, calmly informed a flight attendant he had a bomb, and demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes. After his demands were met, the plane took off again, and somewhere over the dense forests of southwest Washington, Cooper lowered the rear stairs and jumped into the night, into a storm, wearing nothing but a business suit. He was never seen again. No body, no parachute, no confirmed trace, except for a few $1,000s of his ransom cash, badly decayed, found buried on a riverbank 9 years later. The FBI investigated hundreds of suspects for 45 years before officially suspending the case in 2016. D.B. Cooper remains the only unsolved case of air piracy in American aviation history. On December 5, 1945, 5 Navy bomber planes took off from Fort Lauderdale on a routine training mission over the Atlantic. Partway through the flight, the lead instructor radioed that his compass was malfunctioning, and that nothing looked familiar, as if they'd flown into unknown waters. Radio contact grew increasingly panicked, then went silent. All 5 planes, and all 14 men aboard, vanished. A rescue seaplane sent to search for them disappeared that same night, with 13 more men aboard. No wreckage from any of the 6 aircraft was ever found. The Navy's official report cited navigational error, then quietly amended it, admitting the cause was, quote, unknown. The disappearance of Flight 19 is the case that put the Bermuda Triangle on the map. In December 1872, a merchant ship called the Mary Celeste was found drifting in the Atlantic, fully seaworthy, cargo intact, with months of food and water still aboard. But the entire crew, Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, young daughter, and 7 sailors, were gone. The lifeboat was missing, suggesting they'd abandoned ship in a hurry, but the Celeste showed no signs of storm damage, piracy, or struggle. A half-eaten meal sat in a galley. Personal belongings, valuables, even the captain's navigation instruments were left behind. No trace of a single crew member was ever found, alive or dead. Theories have ranged from rogue waves to toxic fumes to mutiny, but none fit every detail investigators recorded. Over 150 years later, the Mary Celeste remains the archetypal ghost ship, a vessel that sailed on, long after everyone aboard had vanished. On December 1, 1948, a well-dressed man was found dead on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia, propped against a sea wall as if he'd simply fallen asleep. He carried no wallet, no ID, and every tag had been carefully cut from his clothing. An autopsy couldn't determine a cause of death. Months later, a scrap of paper reading Tamam Shud, Persian for finished, was found sewn into a hidden pocket, torn from a rare edition of a Persian poetry book. That same book turned up, with a phone number and a strange 5-line code scrawled inside, never deciphered. DNA testing in 2022 finally gave investigators a name, but even that only deepened the mystery of who he really was and how he died. The Tamam Shud case is still considered one of the most baffling unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Deep in Yale University's rare book library sits a 15th-century manuscript written entirely in a script no one has ever read. The Voynich Manuscript spans over 200 pages, filled with elaborate illustrations of unidentifiable plants, astrological diagrams, and figures bathing in green liquid, alongside flowing text in an alphabet that matches no known language on Earth. Codebreakers who cracked Nazi Enigma machines during World War II tried and failed to decipher it. Modern AI language models have tried and failed too. Some researchers believe it's an elaborate medieval hoax, others think it encodes a lost language or a system of knowledge deliberately hidden. Carbon dating confirms the vellum is genuinely from the 1400s, so if it's a hoax, someone put centuries of effort into a joke with no punchline. Not a single word has ever been confidently translated. On November 22, 1987, in the middle of a news broadcast, Chicago television station WGN's signal was suddenly hijacked. For less than a minute, viewers saw a distorted image of someone in a Max Headroom mask, static crackling behind them, before engineers regained control. Hours later, it happened again, this time during Doctor Who on a different station, for nearly 90 seconds. The masked figure hummed, made bizarre statements, and appeared to be spanked with a fly swatter, before the signal cut to static. Intentionally hijacking a broadcast signal required expensive, specialized equipment most amateurs didn't have. The FCC and FBI investigated for years. No one was ever identified, arrested, or charged. The Max Headroom broadcast intrusion remains completely unsolved, one of the strangest, most technically baffling pranks in television history. Since the early 1990s, residents of Taos, New Mexico have reported hearing a persistent, low-frequency hum, audible mostly at night, mostly indoors, and mostly to only a small percentage of the population. Those who hear it describe it as a distant diesel engine idling just out of sight, impossible to escape and impossible to record. Scientists from Los Alamos National Laboratory and the University of New Mexico investigated for months, checking industrial equipment, power lines, and seismic activity. They found nothing that matched. Similar hums have since been reported in cities across the world, each one unexplained, each one seemingly unrelated to the others. Some hear it. Most never will. And nobody has ever proven where it comes from. If a sound this strange can go unexplained for 30 years, what else out there is still waiting to be discovered? Part 2, coming soon.